Vijnanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurmilitanjena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So our Dandavat Pranams to all the assembled Vaishnavas. And yes, today is Christmas Day. So it's a nice day for us to remember the mood of Jesus. Our Gurudev appreciated Jesus's example so much and described him as a perfect example of humility, tolerance, and respect. And so that is something we can remember today. And Srila Sridhar Maharaj, he mentions that he mentions that story of Judas, actually, that because there's this idea, right, that Judas was actually the most intimate disciple of Jesus, and he had to play the role of the bad guy, right, in order to enhance the name of Jesus. And Srila Sridhar Maharaj, he tells that of that incident when Jesus is, he's been betrayed, he's being taken to be crucified, and we hear he throws a glance at Judas, and when Judas receives that glance, he goes mad, and he runs he drops the bags of silver, goes running from the crowd, and he kill himself? Is that what happens? Is that right? Yeah. Nodding heads, Midori Leela. Um, and so there are different interpretations, right, of what happened. And Srila Sridhar Maharaj says that what happened is that Jesus, this was his interpretation, that instead of throwing an accusing look at Judas, he threw a look of asking for forgiveness, right? That please forgive me, right? That actually, no, you think you've betrayed me, but actually I've used you, right? That by your betraying me like this, your name will be black for the rest of history, but you've made my name brighter, right? And so actually, although the world will say you're the traitor, actually, I have used you, that you're furthering my cause in this world. And so instead of accusing Judas, Jesus is asking him for forgiveness. And it's like, so there's like this exchange of hatred for love, right? Judas has behaved in a hateful way, and Jesus is reciprocating with love, and Judas can't tolerate that. He can't tolerate to be treated with so much generosity, so much love, when he feels so unworthy of that. And so he runs and gives up everything. And so it is quite an extraordinary example of mercy, right? Mercy, love, compassion, and something we can all reflect on, right, in our lives, and we can all try to raise our character a little bit, contemplating that extraordinary mood, right, of magnanimity. So some reflections on this day. And as we mentioned, we're here in Govardhan. We just finished Govardhan Parikrama, and we'll be here for another 2 weeks or so, then going to Navadvip. I'm very much looking forward to Navadvip. Speaking of mercy, right? Navadvip is the land of mercy, right? Being in Govardhan Vrindavan, I'm always a little bit on edge, like this is such a high place, and so you're always feeling a little, like you need to be really careful. We're in such high territory. But in Navadvip, we feel a little more relaxed, a little more at ease. It is, and the place that Srila Sridhar Maharaj chose for his mat, of course, that is the place of the place of highest mercy within the land of mercy. Aparad Banjam Pat, the place where all offenses may be excused. Right? Of course, that also means that one has to be on that level of consciousness, right? That we are living on this plane of deep faith. Actually, everything becomes activated by our faith, right? Like Gurudev mentioned about our vision of the deity. He said, as long as you think of the deity as a wooden doll, it will remain a wooden doll, right? As long as that's the mentality that you have, right, then that's what will be real to you, right? If you don't believe that there's a God, if you're an atheist, that's also an experience of reality that you can have, right? It's a real experience, and God is allowing that, right? So faith is like the activating principle in our spiritual life. And if you think about it, it's actually common sense. It's like if you think about relationships that we have, people don't open up to you unless they feel you believe in them, right? It's not like, oh, first you have to prove yourself to me and then I'll believe in you. It's like, forget you. I've got people who love me already, Like it's just a natural way that relationships work. It's like first there needs to be some natural exchange of affection and faith. And then you open up, right? Then you reveal your heart. Then you talk about who you are and what you're about and all these things. So it's operating on the same principle, right? Our whole relationship with divinity is operating on that principle, that I believe in that, right? I have some affection for that higher plane, and then it will reveal itself to us, right? Then it will show itself to us. It is really just common sense. Yeah. And so to all of these things, right, in our spiritual life, they're all happening on that premise, right? That first we have some faith in them, then they will reveal themselves to us. There's this kind of exchange that will go on, right? First we make that leap of faith, they will reveal something to us that increases our faith. Then we put more faith in them, and then they're revealing more to us. And so in this way, it has this, there's a name for this. Probably someone can say for what it is. Snowball effect. I don't know. But it's increasing like this. No, not a paradox, but they're feeding into each other. It's like a cyclical relationship. They're feeding into each other. Maybe there is an element of paradox, actually, though. Perhaps that's right. Yeah, you're right. So, oh, I forgot what I was going to say now. Oh, yeah, that, Srila Sridhar, she also speaks of faith as a deity, right? Because, from the spiritual perspective, everything is personified, so we hear Shraddha Devi, right? She's a goddess. There's that beautiful verse of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So nice, that line. Srila Sridhar includes it in Prapana Jivanamrita. Sakala Chadiya Bai, Shraddha Devi or Guna Gai, Tar Kripa Bhakti Dite Pade. That, oh, my brothers, throwing everything else aside. Sakala Chadiya Bai, throwing everything else aside. Shraddha Devi or Gunagai. Let us sing the glories of Shraddha Devi, right? By whose grace we can attain devotion. There's one beautiful line of Srila Sridhar where he describes faith as the halo around Radharani, in which light we can see Krishna. A halo around Radharani, in which light we can see Krishna. Isn't that so beautiful? Like ultimately it's her property, right? Faith is her property. And from the highest perspective, by her grace, we can receive faith. So we're actually beggars. That's our position. We're beggars of faith, right? And we are just singing in our evening kirtan, what is it? That Ekakiyama Nahi Pai Bolo Harinama Sankirtane Tumi Kripa Kodi Shraddha Bindu Diya, right? Tumi Kripa Kodi Shraddha Bindu Diya. Prayer to the Vaishnavas, right? That please be merciful to me. Give me a drop of faith. Give me a drop of faith. So the devotees, they have this most valuable property of faith, right? This most subtle of subtle things that we can't see and we can't touch, but will change your whole experience of reality, right? The Vaishnavas, they are in possession of that most valuable wealth. And so we are beggars of that. We are beggars of that. And we're running after. And then that Amito Kangal, Krishna, that Krishna se tomar, Krishna's yours. Krishna se tomar, Krishna dite paro. Tomara Shakati. Amito Kangal, Krishna, Krishna Boli, Dai Tavu. I'm running after you, right? This is the mood. If we're really awake to our spiritual necessity, we'll have this feeling of desperation. So in this song, Bhaktivinoda Thakur has gone to this extreme. He's running desperately, running after the Vaishnavas, begging them, please give me one drop of this ultimate wealth, ultimate treasure of Shraddha, of faith. And I remember this one talk of Srila Sridhar Maharaj I transcribed a few years ago, and it really struck me. Because he spoke about faith in this very like for me, I think of faith as something abstract, right? It's intangible. You can't see it, you can't touch it, right? But he spoke about faith in this very like concrete way. And he was speaking about the development of the practitioner. And then he had this very beautiful phrase where he said, faith has given shelter to him, right? Like normally we think we put ourselves as the subject. We are developing faith, right? Faith is something in our possession. That's just how our material wiring is made, right? We are the subject. Everything else is an object to us. So I have faith, or I want faith. But the way you hear our gurus talk sometimes, it's just the opposite, right? Like not that I see the deity, but the deity will see me, right? Just completely switched around. And so similarly, Srila Sridhar Maharaj said about faith, saying like faith will give shelter to you, right? Like completely turning it on its head. Faith will give shelter to us, right? Faith is an element of this higher super subjective world, and we're praying to receive shelter of that plane, that fine plane, fine and higher plane, faith. So faith is a property, right? For those who have the vision, it's a tangible property. It has its solid existence in the upper world, and it may descend and enter our hearts and radically transform our whole experience of divinity. And it is the key, right, that unlocks our experience of divinity ultimately. When I'm here in the Holy Dham, it's like it really hits home, like wow, like I have so far to go, like I'm here in this holiest of holy places, but I'm not seeing all these high things. I'm just thinking about my comfort. I'm thinking about the weather. I'm thinking about, oh, I wish I had a sink in my room. I'm thinking all these very silly things, missing Western comforts and so on. I'm like an insect, living on this plane. I'm not seeing the high pastimes that are going on here. Solidity of faith, Madhuri Leela's put here. Some nice comments from Madhuri Leela in our chat. Yeah. Sensation of solidity to faith. And the more that our faith develops, the more that we will get some sense of that, right? It becomes something very soluble, but very soluble. It's getting late here. I'm tired. It's something solid, right? The more we will feel something very solid. And these principles, which in the beginning may appear abstract, remote, optional, it will become, just like I'm looking at this computer screen in front of me. This is like an irrevocable fact. I can't get past that. This is a solid principle of divinity. right? You know, like I need to chant. Not like, oh yeah, maybe I'll chant later. I'll see how I feel. Yeah, or maybe tomorrow I'll do some chanting, right? Like something remote and, optional, right? Yeah, maybe, yeah. But then we'll get to that point where you feel I can't live without chanting. Is like there will be a hunger, like I need to chant. Just like we feel, oh, I'm hungry, I need to eat some milk and chapatis. I need to have some food in my belly. So where there will be, and that's the hunger of the soul, right? That's the hunger of the soul. That's the real hunger, right? And Mahaprabhu, right, in his pastimes, in the mood of a devotee, right? Krishna in the mood of a devotee, he's showing that hunger, right? He's showing what it really means to be awake to our need and separation from Krishna. Like, what does it actually mean to be awake to our condition, not dulled, not what's the word? Not having our consciousness dulled by the, intoxication of the material energy, or anesthesia, right? Sometimes I think of it like that too. Polluted. Polluted? Yeah, but I'm thinking more in this sense that the material energy is like a type of anesthetic, right? Like you having an operation, you're not feeling it, right? Sometimes I tell that experience I had a serious dental surgery done, and it was one of the most strange experiences of my life because they're drilling in my mouth. I'm awake. It was a 45-minute. It was like a serious operation, but I didn't feel anything. I just had some remote sensation of something happening, right? Like if I saw a video of what went on in my mouth, I would be intolerable. So in the same way, like our condition in material existence is intolerable, right? We're living on such a superficial and base plane of existence. But we're not awake to that because under anesthesia, right? Suvasini Didi's husband, he's a specialist in anesthesia. So happy you're with us, Suvasini Didi. um, so that's our Dandavad. That's our condition, that we're not feeling our condition. There's one purport of Srila Swami Maharaj where he talks about this, and he's saying he gives the example of a worm living in a drain, and he's saying like the worm is not like feeling like, oh my God, I'm a worm in the drain, living in stool. Right? I think of all these microscopic, creatures and how they're living and surviving and such horrible conditions. But that's part of the energy of Maya. That's part of the power of Maya, that it's like dulling your consciousness. You have a lack of awareness, a lack of feeling. Right. Some people live like that, deliberately taking like antidepressants, right? Because they can't face looking at their life. They want to have a dulling of their feelings. They don't have to experience the pain of life, right? But it's not a solution, right? It's not a solution. Not a real solution anyway, not a lasting solution. So Mahaprabhu's showing, like, if you're in his life, in this world, Mahaprabhu, he's showing like what will be like the natural expression of a soul who's actually awake to their condition, right? Ayi Nanda Tanuja. This is the expressed in the 5th verse of Shikshashtakam, right? Ayi Nanda Tanuja Kinkaram Patitam Bambishame Bhavambuddha Kripaya Tava Pada Pankaja Stita Duli Sajisham Yuchintaya. That like what happened, that like actually I belong to you, but I've found myself in this frightening ocean of material existence. Please take me, please give me your shelter. right? Somehow I've ended up here so far away from you in this remote, distant, frightening place. I'm drowning in this remote ocean, frightening ocean. There's so many dangerous creatures coming to swallow me up. So Mahaprabhu is expressing like someone who's awake in this world, what will be their mood, right? What will be their expression, you know, not, shopping therapy or Netflix and chill or all these other things that we do, right? No, that's just like a band-aid, covering up the void. Band-aid solutions. And when Mahaprabhu comes to Navadvip after taking initiation, right? As part of his Leela, taking initiation from Ishwar Puri, then he suddenly begins to reveal this mood of separation. He's crying, right? He calls a meeting of all the Vaishnavas in Navadvip just to be able to vent his pain of feeling separation from Krishna. So he's showing us, right? This is normal, actually, and everything else is abnormal. This is a normal, healthy feeling. Krishna, where are you? Right? So the search for Shri Krishna, reality, the beautiful, that's what we are engaged in, or trying to engage in. We have a question here. How to understand faith? What is the source of it? How to get it or how to multiply? Well, the first thing is we have to think that the what's this? Oh, Midori. Yes, I'm just seeing your comment. It came up delayed for some reason. Um, yeah, no, it's a good point. We need anesthesia, actually. And sometimes I think because otherwise it would be too painful. We would just die. We couldn't handle it. If we were really aware of how bad our condition is, we couldn't bear it. So we need anesthesia has a purpose, right? And so I like to think of it as like layers, right? Things are revealed to us in layers, and our divine guardians are carefully handling us, right? Because if we were given everything at once, if we were given like the full picture, the full download at once, we couldn't handle it. It would be too much. It would be like trying to give a kindergarten student, like the PhD level of instruction, right? Or to tell a kindergarten student exactly how dumb they are. Does that sound really rude? I don't mean it like that, but like how much they don't know. Like, if a 2-year-old explains their version of reality and then you like write a thesis explaining everything wrong with that, like that would just be too much. They'll just cry. You're wrong, or if you tell them how terrible their artistic scribble, their so-called artistic scribble is. So that's where mercy comes in. Mercy, kindness, sympathy, the pat on the head. So Gurudev, he was treating us like that. He was giving us all lots of pats on the head. That's where we are. That's our level. So yeah, good point, Midori. Thank you. So yeah, how to understand faith, what is the source, but how to get it or how to multiply. Well, in a simple sense, we can say the Vaishnavas are the possessors of that. That those who have faith, we will try to get it from them by appreciating them, by serving them, by hearing from them. the Vaishnavas, they are the possessors of that. We will get that from them. It's a heart to heart transmission. So, Sadhu Sangha, Vaishnava Seva, these are such core principles, right? Because the idea is that, we are approaching those who have the spiritual wealth that we want, and we are, appealing to their heart, pleasing them, trying to get their grace, and then they may extend what they have to us. It is like that. That's a simple way to say it. But of course, there's, been so many texts that have been written on this subject matter. It is not a small thing. But we are, we're going on with our practices of Shravan, Kirtan, Sadhu Sangha, Vaishnava Seva. We're trying to go on in a conscious way, hearing, chanting, serving the Vaishnavas. We're trying to follow all the practices of devotion with as much faith as we can muster up, right? And if let's think of it like this. We take what little faith we have and we invest it in a good place, and our capital will grow. So we use what little faith we have to hear from the Vaishnavas, to faithfully, read the books, hear their instructions, follow them, try to render some service in whatever way we can when the opportunity comes, with whatever little faith we have. We are investing it. And if we invest it in the right place, it will expand, right? Srila Sridhar Maharaj also gives the nice analogy, a small capitalist and a big capitalist. Like if we try and make our own little business, with our little bit of capital, there's high chances that will fail, right? But if we take our little capital and we offer it to a bigger capitalist, who's like solid in their business, then our little capital will expand, right? We're investing it and in a safe place with a superior capitalist, and then it will expand, right? And so, in other words, what little faith we have, we are connecting that with the Vaishnavas, with those who have a greater degree of faith. We're following their instructions. We're trying to serve them, and then that capital may expand, right? Something like that. And there's a nice expression of Bhaktivinoda Thakur where he says, enthusiasm is the life of faith, right? Because it is one thing to be faithful, but to be, let's say an armchair believer, to be like, oh, yes, yes, yeah, I love Krishna, I love Mahaprabhu, but then you're not actually acting on that in any way. You're not making your spiritual life something dynamic, right? And there's no like hunger in you to go deeper into that, right? So we also need to try to act on that in the sense of like actually practicing our spiritual life in a conscious way, right? Trying to get association in a conscious way and trying to consciously day by day consider, am I going forward? Am I going backward? Right? Spiritual life means something very conscious and dynamic, right? And we can think of it as a hunger, right? And our gurus, they love that verse of Rupa Goswami so much. This also feels very relevant to this discussion. Krishna Bhakti Rasa Bhavitamati Priyatam Jadi Kutopi Labhyate Tatra Lolyam Api Mulyam Ekalam Janma Koti Sukriterna Labhyate. Right? um, that if you can find this rich consciousness of devotion that's steeped in devotion, ecstatic devotion for Krishna. This is in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, very beautiful verse, very dear to our gurus. And if you can, if you can find this type of person with this type of consciousness that's steeped, that's dripping in this rich, ecstatic love for Krishna, if you can, Jadyukutopi labhyate, if you can find it anywhere, you must purchase it immediately. You must purchase it immediately. And then it says, but this cannot, this cannot be, this type of devotion cannot be acquired through millions of lives of performing pious activity. Koti janma, sukriterna labhyate. You can't get this just through pious, auspicious activity, or you can say ritualistic, religious activity over thousands, millions of births. That cannot get you this type of treasure. So what is it that gets you this type of treasure? Tacha lolium apimulium ekalam. Only one price, only one ticket for that. That is your own hunger for it. And so then how do we get that hunger? When Srila Sridhar Maharaj was asked that, you associate with those who have that hunger, who feel that necessity, right? An actual aching hunger for that, right? Those who feel it's a matter of life and death, not something we do on Sundays, but I'm going to die if I don't get this. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur has that statement, right? That I don't recognize any famine in this world except for the famine of Harikatha, right? Talks about the Lord, talks of truth. That is the only famine. Everything else is chasing after shadows, right? And illusions. But they're getting to the real root of things. There's an adjustment of consciousness. There's a radical adjustment of consciousness that is needed. So, Saraswati Thakur is saying that from a very deep plane of faith, that's very earnestly he's saying that. And I'm reminded also of that occasion when Srila Sridhar Maharaj finally made the decision to take initiation. He'd been, so this is in the very beginning of his journey with the Gaudiya Math, and he'd been associating with the Gaudiya Math for about 1 year. And then we hear, and he still hadn't taken initiation, and we hear he'd attended the week-long Gaur Purnima celebrations in Mayapur at Chaitanya Math. Then it was the end of this week. Everyone's packing up, going home, and Srila Sridhar Maharaj hears Saraswati Thakur. There's like a whole line of people coming and giving respects, and they're saying goodbye, and they're leaving. Srila Sridhar Maharaj is some distance away, and he hears Saraswati Thakur saying, "Don't cheat me." And Srila Sridhar Maharaj was intrigued. What does he mean by that? Don't cheat me. Everyone came for the festival. Now the festival is over, and now everyone's going home. Where is there a question of cheating? And so he went closer to hear more, and he heard Saraswati Thakur saying to them, you all came here and you made a promise that you would enter into the service of Krishna. And now you're all going home and you're going to forget that promise. And you can say to me, oh, I have one fire going on at home. I just have to put it out and I'll come back. And I will say to you that if the whole world is on fire, nothing is more important than this. All your needs will be met by this, Krishna Anushilana, this cultivation of Krishna consciousness. This, like that. And when Srila Sridhar Maharaj heard that, that was like, it was nailed, like final nail. Okay, it's over for me. I put my head here. Still, he had some hesitation for different reasons to fully commit himself. When he heard that, he thought, oh, nowhere in this world will I find this type of earnestness for Krishna. I must throw my head here. That was his feeling. When we hear Vaishnavas, coming from this deep plane of faith, and it is touching us, right? It is giving us some, because this is another thing, that we have to remember, Nazar, and it's very hopeful to remember that this isn't something foreign, right? It's not like, oh, I want to learn French and I'm going to go and study French from a French teacher and I'll learn French and then I'll be able to speak French. This is something else in the sense that, yes, we do need a teacher. Yes, we need the grace of the Vaishnavas, but simultaneously, it's a wealth that's already within us, right? And what we're doing is fanning a flame that's already there, right? And that is something to remind ourselves that is very encouraging for ourselves and in our view of others, to consider others, that this is not something foreign, right? That this faith, it is within us in an embryo form, in a seed form. We're all living with this inherent potentiality within us. We are all Krishna Nitya Das, right? And so it's really about how to activate that, how to awaken what's already within, how to raise and increase what's already within us. That is more a case of that, and that can be very encouraging, right? There's a famous verse in Chaitanya Charitamrita where Kaviraj Goswami is stating this. I can't remember it right now. Maybe Suvasini Giri can remember. But that saying that Krishna Prema, I can't remember, is not something to be acquired from elsewhere, but it's already within us. And through hearing and chanting Shravan Kirtan, it will be awakened, right? So that is also something to remember. And we do need the mercy of the Vaishnava too, and within that process, is a part of that process, but we also have it there within us. So that is something to remember also. But it is also true that there will be periods of our life when we feel that our faith is less strong. There will be other periods when it is more strong, right? Because we're living in this environment. We're living this material energy surrounding us, and sometimes circumstances will come in our life too that will really set us back, and sometimes we'll just be absorbed in trying to survive, right? Sometimes we may feel we're in a dark tunnel, but we see there's some light at the end, and we're trying to go on with our practice in one way or another. But there will be periods when we feel weaker in our faith, and that is normal too. That's a part of the process. In Rupa Goswami's Upadeshamrita, right, he mentions this perseverance, utsaha nishchaya daryat. Daryat means like patience, perseverance to go on. It's not always going to be, a fairy tale. But there will be difficult times. There will be difficult days, and having, and then having some degree of faith with whatever it is, that will help us to go on. Right? And we're praying for more faith. Actually, we're praying to the Vaishnavas, we're praying to Guru, we're praying to the Lord for everything. Right? And that song, we sing this song in our temples morning and evening, right? Gurudev Kripa Bindu Diya Koro Edase Jina Pekka Ati. That song is actually the translation in one of our kirtan guides is not very clear actually, but the song is actually praying for these qualities of humility, tolerance, and respect. It's praying to Guru. Please, I can't do that on my own, right? Humility is the property that you have. Like, please give that to me. Give me the strength to be able to follow that principle. So we are beggars. We are always trying to live in that mentality. We're beggars of mercy. We're beggars of faith. We're beggars of the holy name. We're always trying, if we can situate ourselves in that mentality, then we're in a wholesome and healthy condition. We're always trying to posture ourselves in such a way so as to be the recipients of maximum grace. Right? And, also just to be aware of the fact, oh, I'm lacking in faith, right? Just to be asking that question, how can I increase my faith? That's a very healthy space to be in, right? We want to feel that. And that also shows hunger, right? Like, I don't have it. How do I get it? I need it. That's a capital. That's a wealth to feel that need, to feel the importance of that, to have that healthy emptiness within us that I don't have this and I need it. That's actually Krishna consciousness. That there's something over there and I don't have it, but I want it. There's something that others have and I want it. That's Krishna consciousness, right? It's when we feel that, oh, I have it and I'm doing so well. That's when we need to be concerned, actually. And that may sound very pessimistic, but it's not. It's rather that those who have it, they're looking at an infinite ocean in front of them. They see how infinite this is, how vast and never ending this is, right? So we will never reach the shore of that. We'll never contain it. We'll never hold it in our fist because it's something of an infinite nature. So those who are actually seeing it, those who actually have some sense of what it is, they will feel like that. Like, oh, there was this one Srila Sridhar Maharaj, he tells of this exchange he had. It was in the very beginning days in the Gaudiya Math, and it was, yeah, very early on after joining the Gaudiya Math, and he heard one talk of, what was it exactly? It was that Professor Sanyal. We always call him Professor Sanyal for some reason. He did have a devotional name. He was initiated, but I at least can never remember it. But what was it exactly? He was saying, I'm sure Subhasi can say it. Um, he was speaking about our anartas, right? Our weaknesses. Oh, hello. Is this one of your relatives? Say,
No, I'm also at a Christmas gathering.
okay,
So
okay, of course.
I'm escaping to the
Oh,
Zoom.
I see.
It's one of the, yeah, his family's invited, and we invited to my brother's place. So I said, come say hi.
Okay. Well, so you're sneaking out of the gathering to join us. Oh, well, we're honored.
Saved by all of you.
Um, right. Professor Signal, he was saying something about anartas, about, how we struggle with our anartas, our weaknesses in spiritual life. And Srila Sridhar Maharaj asked him, oh, no, no, no. I think what it was is he said that, no, Subhasiji, can you say the story? I'm getting it. I'm messing it up, the story. Can you say the story properly?
Well, I don't know also remember, but one thing what he said was like um, uh, you know, when will we get rid of Anat or something?
He
And he
asked
said
him,
something.
right? He asked him. Shilashidamaj asked him, I think.
Yeah, something I can't remember, but what the answer, what he said was like, we never will, something like that. Something
Yeah.
like, is
Yeah,
that
yeah.
right? Yeah,
He
does it
said
sound right?
never. Yeah, never. Yeah.
Yeah,
We'll never be free from an artist. Yeah.
yeah. When will it come that stage or something like that?
Mm.
He said, because the stage is anartha nivritti, and then nishta is coming like that, right?
Mm.
There's
Mm.
adorshan. Then he said that it's like, yeah, we'll never, because the pure devotees never feel that they have crossed that stage of anartha nivritti.
Mm.
That is what they I mean, of course they would have, they were already in the higher stage, but the feeling with them is that they never feel that they have crossed that. That
Mm.
is that is what I understand, is that.
Yes, yes, yes. Yes, Srila Maharaj was puzzled, right? Because Professor Sanyal made this comment saying, oh, we'll never be free from these anartas. And Srila Maharaj was puzzled because he's thinking, right, in Rupa Goswami's outline of the development of devotion, there are many stages beyond anarta niriti. Like there is a stage of purification from our anartas, and then building on that, all of these stages of devotion, right? As Didi mentioned, right? Nishta, Ruchi, Shakti, all these things. And so Srila Maharaj was puzzled and he's thinking, what? We do become free from anartas. There is a stage for that. But then later on he realized, oh, but this is the feeling of the Vaishnava. Like they will always feel like that, right? Because they're facing, such purity, they have such deep connection with the upper world that they're feeling themselves to be lacking and insignificant next to that, right? So that
Like, yeah. No, the one, just wanted to say that, like, Sridhar Maharaj defines that humility like that, right? He
mm,
defines that as the outcome of the proximity to
mm,
greatness.
mm,
Uh,
mm.
so,
Yeah, that's a really beautiful explanation. The outcome of proximity to greatness. And there's also another interesting angle on that. It's mentioned in Brihad Bhagavatamrita that humility is also a natural expression of love, right? That it's also the outcome of having the deepest type of love, right? That love humbles you, actually. The most intense type of love, it humbles you, right? And you see this in Srila Maharaj's presentation in Prapana Jivanamrita, right? That there's one level of humility, which is like at our level, like, oh man, I've got all these things wrong and I'm struggling. And then that makes you humble, right? Just a healthy dose of sambandha gyan, awareness of our actual condition that makes you humble. But then at a higher level, like you're over all of these anartas, but because you have this intense love for the Lord, humility is born out of that, right? Even in a material sense, people will experience that. In front of the person you love, you're helpless, right? Love will control you. Love will bring you to your knees, right? This is the power of love. And Sanatan Goswami in this section in Upadesh Brihad Bhagavatamrita, he talks about this and he says that love and humility have this circular relationship where they both feed into the other. Very interesting. That love feeds humility, humility feeds love, like that. It looks like Savior Rupa's given us a link here.
I'm not sure if that was what you were looking for. It's on Gaudiya Darshan, but it's called, the standard is infinite, and it does mention
Hmm.
anarthas and Professor, I think it's Professor Sanyal, but I'm not so sure.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, this is
Yeah.
it. Yes, yes, thank you. Yeah, so it was someone else. It was but there's someone else who asked Professor Sanyal. It was a sannyasi, Bharati Maharaj. He asked Professor Sanyal, who was considered a surrendered soul, Professor Prabhu, Bhakti Sudhakar Prabhu, that is his name, but somehow everyone calls him Professor. Please advise me how we can leave behind anarthas. So that was how it happened. Someone asked, how can we become free of anarthas? And then Professor Prabhu answered, anarthas never leave us. They continue for as long as we live. He was smiling as he answered. Not smiling in an ordinary way, but in a disappointed way. Anarthas never leave us. I was puzzled. I was a newcomer, and I had heard this verse. And then he's quoting that verse: Ado Shraddha Tata Sadhu Sango Tabhajana Kriya Tato Anarthi Nivritti Syat Tato Nishta Ruchistata. So I'm just jumping ahead. Later, I came to understand that he meant that every devotee feels, I have anarthas, and I cannot leave them. In this way, devotees feel no satisfaction. They find no satisfaction in the service of the Lord. The nature of infinite is such. When one comes in connection with the infinite, one's temperament also gets that color, right? Infinite hankering. Wait, I lost my place here. And one feels I cannot do it. The degree of one's service, considered from the standpoint of infinite, becomes minimal, almost nothing. So in every stage, as much as they progress towards the infinite, devotees say, oh, I am hopeless. The goal can never be reached. We see such expressions from Mahaprabhu, from Radharani, from everywhere. So thank you for finding that, Rupa. Go. Well, Nazar, was your question, do you feel some satisfaction for your question? Okay, okay, good, good. Well, so happy you could all join. I know many of you have um, social obligations today, Christmas Day, so very nice you can squeeze some time to join our meeting. Well, I think we're just at the end of our time. Does anyone want to add any? Oh, I never welcome Ramananda Prabhu join, and Sulalita also joined. Very happy you could make it. Anyone want to add any last comments before we close for today?
Dandavad Vishaka Didi. Sorry, joined a little late.
Dandavat Ramananda Prabhu, happy you could join.
Thank you. Yeah, one thing I want to mention
Mm,
on the social board, it says faith is hell of Hirimati Radha, and
mm,
everything is personal. See,
mm. We actually
I see.
mentioned that quote in the beginning of our meeting. That's
Sorry,
funny. You're also remembering that expression. Yeah, that's amazing expression of Srila Sridhar Maharaj. Yes. Everything is personal and everything is the property of the devotees of Krishna. Right? So we are beggars of their property, of their wealth. Suvasni, Giri, any last words you'd like to share?
Uh, Whatever he said is so beautiful. It's really important topic, this to, about the faith, because mostly people, this is very important also to understand, like faith is something, you have faith or you don't have faith, something, people talk like that. It is not the faith as you were explaining this. This is also nice because it's not the faith is also infinite, isn't it? It's just like because Gurudev said the faith should also grow. It's like it's Guru Maharaj also talks about we are in the ocean of faith, right? And the devotees are like, I don't know the exact quote, but devotees are like the lighthouses, in that ocean. So it's like yeah. So as you said in the beginning, maybe we have a small little faith, and then by investing that in the practices and things, by the grace of the Lord and the Vaishnavas, that it can. Oh, yeah, whatever you said, it's very beautiful. Yes, nice.
Can grow our capital. So like this, what we're doing now, like for me, this is faith enhancing. When I can come and be in the association of the Vaishnavas, that's nourishing my faith, right? I have some little bit of faith, and I'm carrying something that came from Gurudev, but I can't just sit in my room with that. I need to keep that alive and increase it. And this is one of the most valuable ways that we can do that, by having association of others who are all trying to do the same thing, and then I'm really feeling some strength of faith, some more strength in my faith, after having these types of gatherings. So yeah, so this is an example, right? How we can increase our faith, to act on it, do something about it, invest it, right? And we will feel the benefit of that. We all have Sukriti, but are we just going to sit on that Sukriti? Are we going to nourish it, right? And help it to grow, become something more. So on that note, I'm very grateful for all of your good association. Thank you for giving me your good association. And may we all continue in our cultivation of faith under the auspices of our divine guardians. Jai Shri Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj ki Jai, Shri Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj ki Jai. All the assembled devotees, sincere seekers ki Jai. Shri Harinam Kirtan ki Jai. Jai Gaur Premanande.
Haribo.
Wishing you all a Merry Christmas and a Happy New
Vishaka
Year.
Dasi ki jai.
Jai Gurudev, Jai Gurudev. And it will be the new year, huh? I think before our next meeting. Is that right? Is it going to be the new year?
It'll be New Year's Day, I think.
Oh,
Yes.
wow.
Yes.
We're meeting on New
Auspicious.
Year's Day. That's pretty cool. Next Thursday.
Which means I'll get to come next week too, but I'll be really
Okay.
tired
Okay.
because I'll
Awesome.
be running a program for teenagers the night before.
Okay. Okay. Well, that's a treat. All right. We'll look forward to seeing you all
Hare
then on New
Krishna.
Year's Day. Okay. Dhanyavad. Dhanyavad. People.